Welcome back to my podcast, Navigating Life in Spirit. For those listening for the first time, this podcast will be covering mental, emotional, spiritual matters, and all that jazz. Hola, my name is Hilary Maliver, a life enthusiast and a sister in spirit. I will be sharing a lot of my takeouts from everyday life by covering an array of topics, my views on them, and how I've handled them. I am by no means an expert or a professional on the topics that are covered. This is solely a personal journey that I will be sharing with you. I had intended on basing this topic off my past romantic connections when the realization that the lessons learned by far surpass the romantic element. One learns a few things about themselves when in relationships, but more so when doing post-analysis on the issues at hand or the relationship itself. It's always amazing if you're able to get feedback from those people. Yes, it's one-sided and it's just from their point of view, but in the end, one needs to register the feedback in order to honor change should the need arise. What I have learned is that as much as I would love to see myself as a saint, that I too have toxic traits and behaviors, that I carry around resentment even though for the longest time I thought through shadow work that I was rid of such anguish, that I can get triggered by simple things if I haven't truly done the work to heal. What has become evident is amidst the chaos there is awareness. I recognize the trigger, the root cause, and what actions are to follow to aid in managing the effects. Not to say it's as easy as it sounds, as that presents challenges when it comes to the application of this reflection. From a young age, I was mostly aware of my emotions, where they were leading to and what brought them on. A lot of the time, I didn't do anything about certain situations because I either didn't want to become confrontational or perhaps I didn't believe that I was allowed to be vocal about how I felt. This, of course, led me to adopting a people-pleasing mechanism that I'm still working to extinguish to this day. I acknowledge that I am in that territory and I become responsive to that awareness. There was an instance where I felt tested. I succumbed to the old ways of doing things, people-pleasing. I didn't consider myself at any point. What I had done was try to show the parties involved how helpful I could be. My inner child was quick to rear her head and gave me a bombastic side eye. I could tell she had a million questions as to why I felt I needed to people please. I could just hear her. "Didn't we speak about this, ma'am?" That question haunted me to the point of retracting the help. Have you ever heard of such? I felt bad at first, but in the end I was beaming with pride because for the first time in a while I stood up for myself. It wasn't that kind of scenario where I needed to, but I took a chance on myself. It's the baby steps that make all the difference in this bettering yourself journey I'm on. You may be called names for choosing yourself, putting you first, but don't let that deter you from getting what you want or being your true self. Toxicity has so many faces, at times very misleading. I would always try to understand the cause of a person's behavior. Sometimes it is those toxic connections that mirror back what we need to work on and ways of managing it. I guess at every given chance, I look for nuggets of growth that stem from unfavorable situations that others may see as a waste of time. I am grateful for the connections that have exposed my own toxic traits, as it allows me to finesse for future connections. In the past, I've battled with the concept of self-love, self-worth, trust, acceptance, and what that looked like. There were many a moment where I would let the other person lead the trajectory of the relationship as I thought I wasn't part of it. I had forgotten that I too was responsible with how it turned out, as well as I mattered just as much as the other person. There were times I would always put the person and their hopes, their dreams, their vision above mine. I would idolize the perfect partner and somehow project that onto them, which robbed me of truly being in a genuine relationship. I missed the true reflection of who they were, their kinks and all. It's so easy to lose sight of who you are, what you really want, and be focused on the desires that usually end. I would make excuses for them without even realizing. I would villainize myself and my actions, all for the sake of keeping the peace and the attachment. It took a long, hard look at myself, my behaviors and my traumas, etc. for me to realize I had to go back within, do some investigations. The study, I must say, was well worth it. I relationship differently now. I show up as a better version than what I used to. Not so much for the other person, but for myself. It's so important to see you, to love you, to trust you. To close this off, there are many lessons that I have learned and are still learning. What do they say? Student for life. That's just what the journey is. Acknowledging is key, but the best part is applying the findings into actions. This has been your sister in spirit, Hey Bechanya.